Today on Mark Fisher Outdoors, Megan and I are going to tackle the topic that's going around the internet right now in terms of honesty among fishermen. And we aren't talking about how big a fish they caught or how big a fish they lost. I think we can all pretty much agree on the fact that fishermen lie when it comes to that. And we'll give them grace for doing that.
But I think more importantly, Mark, what I've noticed on social media is people calling fishermen out about their lies on social media in regards to what they say about their sponsors when money is a factor. So stick around, because that's what we're going to be talking about tonight on Mark Fisher Outdoors when we come back.
Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher.
I'm Megan Fuller.
I agree with you, Megan. So what we're talking about is, does money have an impact on what fishermen say? Or let's be honest, does money make fishermen lie on social media, up on stage, when they're at a seminar? Do fishermen lie because of the money that they receive from sponsors?
And as consumers, should we expect them to, or should we expect an element of truth from our fishermen?
Absolutely. So Megan, your position on this?
Well, if I am a novice and beginner fisherman and I'm going to YouTube to learn about baits, to learn about reels and how to do these things, I expect that these pro fishermen are being genuine and teaching me these things, not cowtailing and going in a certain direction based on what their sponsor is. Because then I might as well just go online to the sponsor's website directly and learn from them. What's the point of me going on your channel and learning from you if you're just gonna be going in different directions based on your sponsor?
Well, and I hear that point. And my response to that is, yes, I get that. And I have a response. If I'm going to be on YouTube and I'm going to be giving fishing tips, I have a responsibility to give a wide range of tips, whether they are related to my sponsors or not. And you need to get, I know you as a viewer need to get value from those tips. Mm-hmm. If every tip I give day after day is related to a chatterbait because that bait company is my sponsor, you're not going to find a lot of value in that. You might find value in it for a day or two, but after 2 weeks of chatterbait tips, you're not going to find very much value in that. And so I do think that there are a lot of good YouTube channels that do give good tips, and I hope we're one of them, that cover a wide variety of techniques. And so what happens, my question to you coming back is, what happens when I do get to a technique that happens to involve one of my sponsors? Should I not mention them? Or am I allowed, in your opinion, to promote their product within that technique that I'm teaching you?
Do you genuinely believe that they're a superior product?
I know my stance. My stance is that there are 3 types of fishermen. There are fishermen who will go to the length of using one product that isn't their sponsors and then tying on their sponsor's product or demonstrating their sponsor's product in a video, even though they don't use it in a tournament. Mm. Those are liars. And I agree with you and your point that there's no place in this industry for them.
Okay.
Okay. However, I think there's a large group of the middle ground anglers, and I would include me in that follow my mom's advice. If you don't have something nice to say about somebody, you don't say anything at all. And I follow that advice when it comes to my sponsors. Number one, and we've talked about this, I try and align myself with sponsors that I believe in their product and that they are very good quality products. But there have been times in my history, fortunately I'm not in that situation currently, but there have been times in my history when I've had products that I've found strengths in, but I've also found weaknesses. And I don't go on YouTube or up on stage or in seminars and say, hey guys, let me tell you about the weaknesses of this product. Because I'm a professional and I get paid to represent that company. And part of that professionalism is not to badmouth that company. So I do think there's a responsibility of the consumer and of the viewer to recognize that when somebody's talking about a product that is one of their sponsors, they probably aren't going to hear a lot of negatives about that. Just like you don't hear a lot of negatives when you turn on a TV set and see a commercial for something. Ford doesn't put on a commercial about their Ford pickup trucks and say, oh, by the way, they're not so good doing this or doing that. You're not going to hear that. Now, does that mean that I'm doing a commercial when I'm on YouTube? I'm still teaching something that's valuable.
Okay. You said there was 3 types of people.
The third type, I think, are, and there aren't very many of them right now, that aren't aligned with very many sponsors. And so they have the freedom to tell the truth about anything. And the truth can be good or bad, okay? But let's face it, if you're in that category, you're probably hoping to get aligned with a sponsor. And as soon as you do, you move categories from, oh, I can tell the truth about anything, anytime, to all of a sudden, wait a minute, I just got hooked up with this boat company or this bait company or this motor company, and all of a sudden I can tell the truth about anything else other than boats, baits, or motors, because I have a professional responsibility to that company.
Are you talking about the Jacob Faust video where he's asking people for money?
I think that that's a great example of somebody who has gotten a lot of notoriety for telling the truth and for being honest. And right now his strategy seems to be towards going to the crowdfunding to gather financial support, which that's fine if that's the tack that he wants to take. And if he
I think it's a bit extreme personally.
Well, my point is that he can do that now, but again, is that his only source of income? Is that his plan to have that crowdfunding be his only source of income? And if
it has to be.
It has to be because in the long range, if you're going to do that on the basis of I'm going to keep telling the truth, he could say, hey, I'm going to crowdfund right now, but then I'm not making such a big deal about telling the truth in the future. But if his platform is going to be, I'm going to tell the truth.
I'm a man of the people. I'm a resistance fighter. Screw the corporations.
Well, if he's going to do that, screw the corporations are the people that are going to pay you, and no one's going to pay you if that's your attitude. And the prediction would be that if someone does, then all of a sudden, instead of telling the truth about everything, he's going to tell the truth about everything except that corporation's product that is paying him. And I mean, that's my opinion on that.
All right. So it's going to go from I'm going to tell the truth regardless to I'm going to be a little bit of a sellout.
Well, and here's my response to being a sellout. You're taking the same approach, and this is I'm criticizing the public, and I know that's not necessarily a a popular stance, but I don't think that it's a valid premise. You shouldn't expect anglers who are being paid by a company to badmouth their company. That's an inappropriate expectation in the first place. Okay? If I work for PowerPole or for Phoenix or for Mercury, if there was something bad about them, I'm not going to say that. I work for them. I wouldn't. It's not professional for me to do that.
Okay, but you're saying that you fall in that second category of you align yourself with good sponsors, okay? How many anglers do you think are in that first category?
I align myself with good sponsors, but I'm also intelligent enough to know that if somebody says something, if somebody asks me a question, I can answer the question from a standpoint of talking about the good points and not necessarily highlighting the bad points.
Going back to a question I asked and you didn't answer, how many anglers do you feel like are in that first group of
I think there's 25%. That's just my guess, but I've met enough of them to know that I think there's quite a few who do that. And I would 100% as a consumer be on the I think that's my point in this whole thing. I think as a consumer, we want to be more discerning about the information that we get. Because somebody is sponsored by somebody, that doesn't mean throw the information away, don't listen to it at all. It means take what you can from it that you think is useful, but understand that some of it might be a commercial or might not be 100% all of the information that person knows about that rod, okay?
Right.
And get that other information, that negative information, from another source. There are other ways to find out if a certain rod maybe isn't as good when you get to the upper ends of it. And so, hey, I listen to Mark Fisher Outdoors for this, but when he was talking about that particular thing, and I know he's sponsored by that particular company, maybe I do look at other sources to find out if there is any other, negatives or things like that. Now, and again, as a professional, what I try and do is make sure that I highlight every positive that I can of the companies that I represent. If I'm highlighting 100 positives of the companies that I represent, there can't be very many negatives, okay?
Right.
If I represent one positive and I keep going back to that one thing, that might mean that there's a few other things that are out there that somebody might want to pay attention to. But a discerning viewer would make that distinction.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I don't know whether people agree with that or not. So I guess what I'm saying in this debate is I absolutely do not like and agree that anglers who flat out lie, I use this bait, but I say that I use this bait.
The 25%ers.
Those anglers don't have a place in this industry, and I would be on the bandwagon to call them out. 100%.
Big time.
Again, I feel like I fit in the majority where I do not lie about a product and say it does this great when it doesn't. Okay. But again, as a professional and as someone who is hired by a company to represent them, I don't shine the spotlight on the things that are negative.
Okay.
And you mentioned Jacob Fouts, and I think right now he's probably one of the only ones that I'm aware of that is trying to go a different direction. And again, I don't know Jacob. I don't know if our assumption about the direction he's going is accurate or not. But if it is where he's totally trying to crowdfund his entire fishing career, as you pointed out, it better be entirely there, because the minute a company gets involved, his honesty has to shrink,
Right.
or he's not going to stay sponsored by that company very long.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right. Yeah. I appreciate the idea of the 100% transparency regardless of the product. I think that idea is innovative and new, obviously. But I want 100% sponsorship from the people. I don't agree with that.
And who knows, he might get a ton of popular support to where he's got enough funding from his fans where the only thing on his wrap is people's names, and he doesn't have any kind of motor sponsorship, any kind of boat sponsorship, any kind of bait sponsorship, and he goes out and kills it.
But then he has, like you were saying, he has to stick with it then for the rest of his career. That has to be it, because if he starts bringing in sponsors and shifts it up, well then
that would be a letdown to the public that supported him.
Absolutely.
Right. I think it would be a very, very unique and interesting move.
Trajectory.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And would be one for us to pay attention to and watch. Really.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, we don't know what your thoughts are on this. We would love, and I would assume we're going to get some comments.
I hope so.
And we look forward to all of your comments. And again, they may not agree with us, but we look forward to your comments. And if anything, we got you thinking a little bit, which is, again, what we're trying to do here.
And we didn't necessarily agree with each other either, so this wasn't staged.
And it wasn't staged, and quite honestly, our conversation pretty much evolved with the cameras on. Mm-hmm. And that's the honest the honest truth also.
Yeah.
And it really is the honest truth. This conversation evolved with the cameras on.
So you might agree with me, but not him. You might agree with him, but not me. So.
Or well, I agreed with Megan on that part, but I agree with Mark on this part. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how this turns out at the end here, guys. And we'd love to hear your comments about it.
Please.
If you did like it, please hit the thumbs up button, the like button. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. We are, I think we're around 700 or a little bit more, and we're kind of getting up to that big 1,000 number, and we definitely we gotta do something around Christmas to celebrate the 1,000 subscriber and all of you who have been subscribing to the channel. We'll figure out how we're gonna do that, and we'll announce that coming up. Guys, thanks very much for tuning in. Tomorrow is
Underwater Wednesday.
So we will be in the pool tomorrow. We got a really special episode for Underwater Wednesday tomorrow. You'll want to see that. We'll see you then.
Have a good night.